19 at 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time. Just did the Dark to Light podcast. Wanted to let you guys know this video is being brought to you by Noble Gold. Noble Gold. If you guys didn't know, Holland actually has a bank, the Dutch National Bank, holds over 20 billion worth of gold. Those vaults are scattered all around the world for safety, but it's recently been buying more gold because gold always retains its value. And you should be considering that too. Don't mind these notifications. My bad. If you don't know the answer to whether your personal IRA accounts will hold their value in a financial meltdown, you guys need to take a look at Noble Gold. So many people get their financial hands burned. And in the last big downturn, it happened to a bunch of people. You can find out how you secure your IRA or 401k, get a tax break, and take back control by calling Noble Gold today at 877-646-5347. Or you can hit the link in the description box as soon as this video is done to get the Learn About Gold video series. Again, call 877-646-5347. Ask to speak to a representative. Make sure you tell them that Tracybeanz sent you. I am a busy beans today. Hello, everyone. Hi, guys. I had a really good time doing the podcast live with Frank. I'm not comfortable on camera. I don't like it. I don't like being on camera. But I wanted to do a deep dive into this McCain stuff that's resurfacing as it's being reported that John McCain was responsible for sending a little bit of this dossier over to the FBI, Lindsey Graham, etc., so on and so forth. And what I want to do is kind of give an overview of why this is important on the podcast. Let me just turn this light off. Hold on. I have a light in my face. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this portion of things, thank you guys. Thank you. This portion of this story is so big. And if you go back on my channel for years now, you'll see that I as I talked about, I've been covering Deciphering 2. I've been covering the DNC leaks, not hack, leaks. And it's the cornerstone of the entire Russia collusion story. And what I'm finding so refreshing is that even though we're years down the road now, things are coming out that we had reported much earlier. It is a fantastic thing. It is awesome. I'm not upset by it at all. I think it's great. And there are a lot of people that are newer to my channel and my work. And so it never hurts to do refreshes of this stuff for folks. And it's really, really important. One of the things that absolutely stunned me was hearing Lindsey Graham admit in his own hearing that he had gotten this dossier from McCain, even though we knew it, and he'd said it once or twice before. Hearing him say it and admit and acknowledge the fact that it is just nonsense was great. I did a video on New Year's Eve 2 years ago that used the dossier to debunk itself. It was a debate. The dossier versus the dossier. They competed with one another. Nobody won. So it was nonsense. And the FISA report from Horowitz was kind of like not the end, but the beginning of what will be the uncovering of a ton of information that we've been looking for. Again, the entire Russia hoax is hinged on the fact of the DNC server. No matter how much they want to take your attention away from it, that leak of that information was what made this entire narrative come about. They needed an excuse for it. This is how it all started. So I put this thread together back in May of 2018. Just because this thread is from May of 2018 doesn't mean the information is old, recycled, or whatever. It's important as heck. There was a lawsuit going on in the UK. Orbis and Steele. Orbis is the company that Steele founded. Orbis Business Intelligence, I believe, or something. They were being sued by Gubarev, Webzilla, and XBT, which are Gubarev's companies, based off of the memos in the dossier where Gubarev was accused of doing, and his companies were accused of doing all sorts of things they never did. As we know, the primary subsource now has come out and said that it talked to the FBI, talked to the FBI and told them that all the information was hearsay and nonsense. We know that McCain received the dossier via David Kramer back in November of 2016. He handed it over to the FBI. I chose a random Daily Beast article in this thread to show it to you. This is from May 10th of October 2018. In his new book, McCain defends his decision to give a controversial dossier about Trump to former FBI Chief James Comey. He says, I agreed to receive a copy of what is now referred to as the dossier. I reviewed its contents. The allegations were disturbing, but I had no idea which, if any, were true. I couldn't independently verify any of it, and so I did what any American who cares about our national security should do. He writes that in November of 2016, listen to this, he spoke with Sir Andrew Wood, a former British diplomat, at the Halifax International Security Forum. Wood alerted him to Steele's work, after which David Kramer, senior director for human rights and human freedoms at the McCain Institute, traveled to London to meet with Christopher Steele. Listen very closely. David Kramer does work with the Atlantic Council and the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council. And William Taylor. They've presented numerous roundtables together. Numerous. William Taylor is the witness who was the former ambassador who worked for a small Ukrainian NGO in Ukraine that is funded by George Soros. All of this stuff melds together. All of it does. Thank you to everyone out there asking people to like this video. It's much appreciated. You guys rock. All of this stuff melds together. They began to unpeel the onion and discover the Ukrainian corruption from the swamp creatures inside the government. And what did they do? They engineered an impeachment to cover it up, is what they did. So John McCain gets this copy of the dossier. We also know during that time, like he says, he met with Sir Andrew Wood. Sir Andrew Wood, former UK Moscow ambassador, consulted on Trump dossier. Sir Andrew Wood told a U.S. Senator that Christopher Steele's report might be true, might be untrue, but that the author was credible. And given the comments that we're going to go over, I think that Andrew Wood was one of the people the FBI talked to get their opinion about Steele. And I think he's one of the people that said, you know, he has good intentions, blah, 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 blah. So we know McCain was involved with Fusion GPS and Steele and Orbis for what we will now call the pre-election dossier. But although alluded to several times, we now have in our possession a memo written by Steele in December, after the election. Thank you for the comments, guys. I'm reading them as best as I can. Happy 2020, Nancy. Thank you. When the Senate released their documents in May, they released all of their transcripts and they released a copy of the dossier, including the December memo, as well as some of the responses that Orbis and Steele had written in the lawsuit. UK court is different. It's much different than American court. And I was studying this. I was getting these documents from somebody who was sending them to me at the time. And I was studying this lawsuit closely because it was really the only time that we had seen anything that Christopher Steele had said out loud. Here is the December memo. Basically, what is comprised in this is that Cohen in Prague made cash payments to Russian FSB-connected hackers to target the DNC and other connected players. Again, this supposedly is brought to Christopher Steele after the election. Donald Trump has been elected president. Christopher Steele's not working for Fusion GPS anymore, is not being paid by them anymore. Somebody approaches him, he says, randomly with this intelligence. Here it is. Trump's Representative Cohen accompanied to Prague in August, September 2016 by 3 colleagues for secret discussions with Kremlin representatives and associated operatives and hackers. Agenda included how to process deniable cash payments to operatives, contingency plans for covering up operations, and action in event of a Clinton election victory. Some further details of Russian representatives and operatives involved. Romanian hackers employed and use of Bulgaria as a bolt hole to lie low. Anti-Clinton hackers and other operatives paid by both Trump team and Kremlin, but with ultimate loyalty to Ivanov and his successor. And then they go into details about it. Some of it's redacted. It says here, we reported previously on secret meetings held in Prague, Czech Republic in August of 2016 between then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump Representative Michael Cohen and his it's hard to read, from the Kremlin working undercover of Russian NGO, and he names the NGO. It says that they provided further details of these meetings and associated anti-Clinton DNC operations. Cohen had been accompanied to Prague by 3 colleagues, and the timing of the visit was either in the last week of August or the first week of September. One of their main Russian prosecutors was I can't read that word. It's all blurred out. Anyway, long story short, they're naming who the people were that they met with. They talk about the hacking that was done. They loop in Carter Page and Paul Manafort. You guys can read it. I'm going to link it in the description box for you guys in the December memo. In this part here, they cover Guccifer too. It says, in terms of practical measures to be taken, it was agreed by the two sides in Prague to stand down various, quote, Romanian hackers, presumably based in their homeland or neighboring Eastern Europe, and that other operatives should head for a bolt hole in Bulgaria, where they should lay low. On payments, Ivanov's associate said that operatives involved have been paid by both Trump's team and the Kremlin, though their orders and ultimate loyalty lay with Ivanov as head of the PA and thus ultimately responsible for the operation, and his designated successor after he was dismissed by Putin. So now they're saying that Trump paid for Guccifer, is what that December memo basically says. In this part, they cover the phishing and malware the establishment contends targeted members of the DNC and Podesta. And they go into detail. They say reported that over the period in March-September of 2016, a company called Blank and its affiliates had been using botnets and porn traffic to transmit viruses, plant and steal data, and conduct altering operations against the Democrat Party leadership. Entities linked to one Blank were involved, and he and another hacking expert, both recruited under duress from the FSB, were significant players in the operation. In Prague, Cohen agreed contingency plans for various scenarios to protect the operation, but in particular, what was to be done in the event that Hillary Clinton won the presidency. They talk about the cash payments. I'm talking about this in detail now for a very important reason. The problem is Michael Cohen never went to Prague. We know that. We know this is all nonsense. They trotted this Prague story back out again in March of 2018. In the lawsuit, it says that Kramer asked that McCain be briefed with anything further in regards to Russian interference in the election. This is in the UK lawsuit. On behalf of Senator McCain, Mr. Kramer requested to be provided with any further intelligence gathered by the defendants about alleged Russian interference in the U.S. election. This entire page here states that the December memo was given to McCain through Fusion and then Kramer encrypted. It says the defendants, which would be Christopher Steele, continued to receive unsolicited intelligence on the matters covered by the pre-election memo after the U.S. presidential election and the conclusion of the assignment for Fusion. After receiving some such intelligence, the second defendant prepared the confidential December memo on his own initiative December 13th. The defendants considered the raw intelligence was of considerable importance in relation to alleged Russian interference in the election, had implications for the national security of the U.S. and the UK, and needed to be analyzed and further investigated and verified. Now, it says here, a senior UK government national security official had the information in hard copy and Fusion by encrypted email with an instruction to them to provide a hard copy to McCain via Kramer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Are you ready? They admit they couldn't prove that any of it was true. Do you remember the contents of the memo, Russian and Romanian hacking financed by Cohen? Is it just a coincidence then that Crowdstrike happened to come out in December with their proof that Russia did the hacking and it used like the language that was in that memo? Cybersecurity firm, Russian military intelligence unit tied to DNC hack. A hacking group tied to the incursion of the DNC has been linked to Russian military intelligence, according to the Crowdstrike report. Crowdstrike used the December memo to craft their Russian hacking theory. It appears that Crowdstrike obtained the December memo either via Fusion or Kramer and McCain, and then used that as the foundation for the charges that Russia hacked the DNC. McCain comes out December 30th and says that Russian cyber intrusions are an act of war. And Crowdstrike puts out their report stating that the Russians hacked the DNC using Fancy Bear and Cozy Bear, but gets a lot of the language from the December memo. The official intelligence report concluding that the Russian hacking was released 2 weeks later. Was this all based on the Oh, it's gone. Hold on. Damn it. Bear with me a second. Interesting. Here's another one from CNN I have a screenshot of. Anyway, Arizona Senator John McCain said Sunday that Russian hacking during the 2016 election threatens to destroy democracy. He pushed for a special select committee to investigate the CIA's finding that Russia hacked the DNC and a top Hillary Clinton aide in an effort to help elect Donald Trump as president. So it appears that select folks in the intelligence community who had used the unverified dossier already to get FISA warrants via Fusion and McCain and Kramer used the bogus December memo as the proof of the hacking against the DNC. And then so in other words, the December memo details how the hacking happened. And then Crowdstrike uses it to come to their conclusion about how the hacking happened. Knowing now that this is all bull, is it safe to say that Crowdstrike has some explaining to do? It's crazy. This is crazy. The December memo formed some of the basis of the Crowdstrike explanation for the quote hack of the DNC server. I have a video here I can link, but the Senate Intel Committee knows that that's nonsense and still says there's Russian interference. Nonsense. Nonsense. All of it. Nonsense. Again, piecing this together from May of 2018. So what I'm going to do is put the thread in the chat, in the description box below. And I'll put the other video in the description box below. And guys, like seriously, what's happening now is all this stuff is coming out now, which is great. Again, it's fantastic, but it all boils down to this server. And if you go to my channel and you scroll back, you will see a number of videos, many videos on Guccifer 2. I implore you guys to watch them. I really do. They go in detail. They're very in-depth. They explain the forensics behind everything. I have one that's called Guccifer 2 Sums Up Everything. That's like a big summary of everything that is really full of information that I think is really important. To be honest, it may make sense for me to just do all of this over again. So here is, again, tying back to Ukraine, why I've been saying, at least for a while, that it's too convenient that Graham wants to shut the stuff down. It's just too convenient. He doesn't want investigations in Ukraine, okay? Why? He had to chair the FISA hearing. It's just all connected, is all I'm going to say, in one big, huge, disgusting, toxic swamp circle. We're about to close out a decade. Oh, and not only that, President Trump mentions CrowdStrike in the transcript of the Ukraine call. Viktor Pinchuk funds Dmitry Alperovich, who is the CTO of CrowdStrike. The Atlantic Council is involved with CrowdStrike. The Atlantic Council is involved in the impeachment. All the people connected to the Atlantic Council are Victoria Nuland, everybody. It's all connected. All of it is all connected. And if we're starting to talk about McCain and the December memo, we're going to start to talk about the DNC. It's the only logical way to take it. If you don't cover the DNC in regards to the December memo, you're missing a big piece of this. We're about to close out a decade, people, and the next one is going to be fantastic. I'll probably go live tomorrow and just say Happy New Year to you guys. And I want to thank you again for everything, because you're amazing. You're all amazing, and I love you, and I love doing this, and you make it possible, and thank you guys so much. So if you appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron, I really would be honored to have you. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Tracybeanz with a Z, subscribestar.com/Tracybeanz with a Z. You could find all of the great work being done on uncoverdc.com. And here's to a really amazing 2020. A really amazing 2020.